Okay, so on Friday, you're going to get a sprint on this. You'll have about 2 minutes, and there'll be 20 assorted fractions that you have to know by heart into decimals. Let's start with the family called the halves. 1/2 is what decimal equivalent? Some of these you'll be able to rattle off pretty quickly. Faz. Correct. Okay, let's do the quarters. Think of it, quarter family. Think of it like it's money. If you have a quarter in your pocket, 1/4, you have how much money? 25 cents or 0.25. 2/4. Fell. That, which makes sense because 2/4 reduces to 1/2. So they're going to be a decimal equivalent as well. What about 3/4? Let's hear from the dark side. Somebody in this row?
0.75.
Correct. All right, now you also need to know the fifths. And that one's a little bit more tricky if you don't know it. Cat, 1/5?
20.
Great. Or just 0.2. If you want to put just 0.2, that's fine too. Do you guys know that any zeros to the right of the last digit is what's called an insignificant zero? Okay, so little sidebar lesson here. Do you need the zero, yes or no?
No.
How many zeros can you get rid of?
4.
Well, 4 of them, right?
No. Can't get rid of it.
Can't get rid of that. That's called a significant zero. We need it. Okay, what about if I did this, though? You can get rid of it. Okay, so you know that idea, right? Okay, always simplify. Any zeros to the right of the last digits that's not a zero, you can get rid of them.
Except for the left.
No, I wouldn't take it off, but what kind of makes it handy is that it's easier to multiply something like this rather than having to multiply something like that. You'll have so many different steps and so many different levels to it. And if you do it this way, it just cuts down on the amount of work you have to do. Z, what about 2/5? Correct. 0.4 or 0.40. We'll leave it as 0.4. We'll make it as short as possible. 3/5. Z. 4/5. Del. Okay, what about the tenths? So, what do you think about 1/10?
0.1.
Good. And then just follow the pattern. Think about it, when you get to 5/10, 0.5 is equivalent to 1/2, so you're going to get the same thing. Whenever these fractions reduce into another family, the decimal equivalent should be the same. All right, page 2. What about the repeating thirds?
Wait, there's another. Oh.
Yeah, the second side. Andrew, 1/3?
0.3.
Okay, how do you show a repeating decimal?
Put down line.
Put a bar at the top.
3.3.
By the way, if you want to be mathematically correct, the way that you do it is the first digit that repeats is what gets the bar. So don't write this. You don't need to do it that way because they all repeat. The first digit that repeats gets the bar. This indicates that this 3 goes on forever. Okay, just a little way of doing it. I see sometimes when you do your long division with math, I will see this sometimes, and I'm not going to mark it wrong, but it's the first 3 that repeats, that should get the bar. Don't make it any more longer than it needs to be. What about 2/3? Joe,
0.6 with
you got it. Do you know the ninths? May I show it to you real quick? Any fraction could be made into a decimal using d into n. 9 into 1.00. 9 can't go into 1, but it goes into 10 how many times?
once.
So what is it then?
0.1 repeating.
0.1 repeating. Let's try 2 ninths just to see it. No. 9 into 2.00. 9 into 20.
Oh,
What is 9 times 2 mark?
18.
And you get the dog chasing its tail again. So what is 2 ninths as a repeating decimal?
0.2.
0.2 repeating. Well, look, 3 ninths reduces to 1/3, which is 0.3 repeating. So now you see the pattern.
So it's 0.4.
Yep. 6 ninths. Look, 6 ninths reduces to 2/3. It's an equivalent fraction. So they're both 0.6 repeating.
That's cool.
And then if you're in advanced, you guys are also responsible for knowing your eighths. So what happens on Fridays is if you're advanced, you're getting a different sprint than everybody else, because these will be mixed in.
How do we do the 8?
Well, let's see who knows it, because once you see it, the first decimal equivalent establishes the pattern. So, like, once you know we're counting by 0.1s here for the ninths, you could see the pattern. Well, once you figure out what the first decimal equivalent is for 1/8, you should then keep doubling it to establish the pattern. Do you know it, Kurt? It is 0.125. So now that establishes the pattern. 1.25 plus 1.25 gives you
2.5. No, I mean,
0.25, which, look, doesn't that make sense? 1/2 reduces to what fraction? Which is 0.25.
Oh.
Okay, what about 3/8? Z. Yep, if you add 1.25 to 125 to 250, you get 375. 4/8. Well, what does it reduce to? Which is 0.5. If you add 125 to 375, you get 0.5. 5/8. Fuzzy. Correct. 6/8, which reduces to 3/4. Now, look, even if you're not advanced, I want you to write this down. I'm just not gonna sprint you on it. Phil. Last one, 7/8. T. Correct. When you get this on Friday, the fractions will be random. They'll be mixed. You'll see a quarter, then you'll see 2/5. It'll jump around, so it's not going to be in this format. But you got to memorize it. You got to put some time into it if it doesn't come naturally to you. You know, if you got the halves and the quarters down, and you know you need to study maybe your fifths or your ninths or your thirds, put the time into it, because that's going to count. Remember the last one on GCF did not count. That was for fun. This will count. Okay, so that's on tap for Friday. Let's go over lesson 6. The biggest thing to understand with lesson 6 is you have to understand the quadrant numbers and how to read coordinate points. That's really kind of what's the essence of lesson 6. Before I go on to the top here, the coordinate plane, when you divide it up by the x and the y axis, breaks up the plane into what's called 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1, you just kind of have to remember, is the upper right-hand quadrant. That's your quadrant 1. And then you count them sequentially going counterclockwise, the opposite direction of the hands of a clock. So 1 is the upper right, and then you got to go to the immediate left. That's quadrant 2. Quadrant 3 is below quadrant 2. And then the last one completes in the lower right-hand corner as quadrant 4. When you do coordinates, which coordinate gets read and plotted first, the x or the y? Ben? Right. So you got to remember, and I know your 5th grade teachers tell you all a different way, that you got to go left, right before you go up, down. What do they tell you? You have to run before you jump. You got to slide before you fly, all of that stuff. So you basically are going to go left, right along the x-axis first. You plot that point, and then your y-coordinate determines whether you're going to go up for positive or down for negative. Okay? So based on that, point C is really referred to point C from the previous page. So let's start here. You move 3 units on which axis first? Geneva. Correct. And do you move negative, or do you move positive, or do you move left or right for negative? Right. Left is, and just think, we've done the number line, so all of the coordinates to the left of 0 are negative. And then 5 units up or down.
Down.
Right, because down is negative on the y, and that becomes y. All right, what about here? Point D, given the coordinates 3, negative 5. And notice, when we make the coordinates, they are surrounded by parentheses. That's the way you write it out. 3 units on what axis, Hannah? Correct, x is always first. Right or left?
Right.
Yep, you can call it out. We'll get it done quick. And 5 units, up or down?
Up. Down, Marcus. Down.
Negative 5, it's down. Along which axis? Okay? All right, that takes care of 4. All right, this one I'll call you. All right, which kind of big. See if I can get it all on one page. Close enough. All right, 1, 4 is which point? Andrew, go. 1, 4? You sure? F it is. 4, 1. Christine. 5, neg 2. Dylan. Huh? She is correct. 2, neg 1. Luke. 0, 5. Kurt. 8.5, 8. Marcus.
L.
5, 4.2. Alex. 0, 9. Cat. Okay, any questions on this? This has got to become like routinely familiar to move on to lesson 7. Okay, so it takes a little bit of practice. Just got to remember, x is first, y is second.
Wait, I don't think there's an E on here. Oh wait, yeah, there is. Never mind.
Okay, let's go to the next page. What you guys have to do, essentially pretty much everything, right? The problem set.
From 1 through 9?
And then advanced had to go advanced, right? Okay. All right, what about point M? What are the coordinates? Go ahead, Soph. Great. Point N. Hannah. Great. Point P. Phil. Yeah, put a star next to this. Just be careful with this. Sometimes I see that reversed. Q. Geneve. Great. R. Hunt.
0, 3.
S. Luke. T. T-Rex. U. Ben. And V. You want to try one? Yeah. I want to see it. Where is it? See it?
Negative 1, 6.
Yep, negative 1, 6. By the way, you got 100 on the quiz. Okay. All they want you to do here, I believe, is list the quadrants, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So what I would do is whenever you get a coordinate plane, let's make it easy on ourselves. Work smarter, not harder. Put them right here so you know them.
I knew that.
Okay. And then obviously you do have to identify the point in order to do it correctly. Anybody want to come up and just rattle them right off?
Oh, Hunter does.
A through G?
Yeah. I think I got it.
All right, go for it.
I have some
Good.
with Matt though, though.
Yeah, and you did them in Roman numerals? Good job. All right, great. When you list quadrants, try to remember they get listed as Roman numerals, otherwise they can get confused for actual plot points. Just the way it gets done.
Very old.
Hold on, we're still not done yet.
Yeah.
Now this is where I'm kind of interested to see what you did for F and G. Wow, you did a good job. Okay, when you have a point that does not lie on any quadrant and lies on an axis, you don't put a quadrant number. You put the axis it's on. So did everybody get all of these right? Let me go to full screen so we can see it all at once. I think it's just easier. No, I don't want that. I want full page. Hold on a minute. Wait a minute. That's what I want. However, I want this off. Okay, take a look. Okay, well, now what's not on this sheet is something that I want to try with you. This is kind of the advanced sort of did this, is that you can identify what quadrant a point is in based by its positive or negative values in its coordinates. So all of the points in quadrant 1, the x-coordinate is positive, the y-coordinate is positive. Agreed? Everything in this quadrant, both coordinates, in this case they give you 7, 2, but any positive and any positive, x, y, always in quadrant 1. What can we say about the coordinates in quadrant 2? Which is positive and which is negative? Viv.
The x-coordinate is negative and the y-coordinate is positive.
Correct. Okay, the x-coordinate is negative and y-coordinate is positive. What about quadrant 3? Andrew. Both are negative. Any point I give you, if they're both negative, well, you know it has to be in quadrant 3. And remember that this goes on forever. It doesn't stop at negative 12, negative 13. So if I give you negative 1,684, negative 3,135.5, doesn't matter. They're both negative. That's going to be in quadrant 3. What about 4? Blue.
Y is negative and the x is positive.
Got it. Okay. All right, ready? Let's play. Raise your hand. Negative, negative. Alex. Correct. Go get a candy top drawer. Here we go. Get ready. Pause neg. Posy. Correct. Get a candy top drawer. Pause, pause. Everybody was sitting and waiting on that one. Trey. That is correct. Neg pause. Marcus. 3 seconds.
2.
Correct. Go get. Okay. Pause 0.
Whoa. Wait. No. Wait.
Dylan.
1. No.
Joe.
2.
Hunt.
X and Y axle.
Cody. X-axis. Pause 0.
Wait, can it be both?
Can't.
Oh, can it be more?
Okay. Can't.
It's right in the middle.
Pause 0. Okay. It's got to be x-axis no matter what. What about, well, 0, 0 neg? Horta. Correct. Go get it. 0 pause. Z. It's the y-axis. Doesn't matter. As long if the first coordinate is 0, it is y-axis. If the second coordinate is 0, it's always x-axis. All right. Good. Well done. Well done. Get your treats. Take a seat. Let's move on. Page 8. Exercise 4, we kind of just did it actually, if you think about it. This is open for any possible coordinates that you want to write down that exists in the quadrant that they give you. Well, we kind of did that with the game we just did. As long as whatever coordinates you put here are both positive, you're right. Here, whatever point you came up with, the first one has to be negative, second one has to be positive. This one, both negative, whatever you put. And here, first one positive, second one negative. Move on. All right, we kind of already did this too, but here it is in written form. All right, both signs of the ordered pair are positive. The point resides in, call it out. Both are neg. All right, if the point resides in quadrant 2, the sign of the first coordinate is?
Negative and positive.
The second coordinate is? Quadrant 4, the sign of the first coordinate is? Second coordinate is? And advanced, your keys are hanging up. Okay? Check them in the next couple minutes here. I'm going to give out lesson number 7. Well, no. You guys, after you've checked advanced, go on to the problem set, which starts for you guys. What page? 11, right? I'd like you to finish it up between now and the end of the period. And then 6 is done and we can go on to 7. Okay? You can group up if you want. Advanced, it's hanging up right here.